Welcome to your Accounting Mentor, a segment on our podcast where we take you behind the scene to discuss the summary of our live lectures, the key issues that we discussed to help you to understand the scope of the syllabus and then the journey as we go towards the March 2026 examination. So today we're looking at session 2 of Public Sector Accounting and Finance, where we discuss the various things we must understand when it comes to the core principles, that is the Nolan principles, as well as the core principles that guide public sector administrators or workers. We also spoke about the accounting basis and accounting techniques, and also looked at some few key issues that we must understand when it comes to how we prepare sets of financial statements, either from the cash basis to accrual basis or from accrual basis to cash basis. So let's get into the discussion. So we open up the discussion by looking at the fundamental principles that guide the behavior of public sector workers. So if you are working in the public sector, key public officers, how are they expected to behave? And that is where the Nolan 7 principles of public life comes in. And we spoke about the 7 key principles. Number 1, selflessness, which simply means that whatever decision that they are making, they must make sure that they are making the decision not to benefit them, but to maximize the welfare of the public or the citizens as a whole. And that is very important. The second thing is integrity. In all the dealings of key public officers and public sector workers, they must be honest and straightforward in everything they are doing. 3 is objectivity. Same thing happens when making decisions. Public sector officers, key public officers must ensure that they are not allowing bias, conflict of interest, or undue influence to impair their judgment or the decisions that they are making. Accountability, very important. As a public sector worker, a key public sector institution or officer, it is important they open themselves up for accountability. Accountability simply means to be answerable for the decisions or actions you made when you were in a certain position. And that is the principle of accountability. And if you follow our politics in this country, one of the things that we lack in this country is accountability. Because anytime people are called on to come and answer simple questions for their management or mismanagement of certain ministries, department, agencies, or certain institutions, it is tagged as politically motivated. And that is one of the things that Nolan principle talks about, that, hey, if you're a public sector worker, you have to be accountable. Whatever you did, if you are called to come and provide answers, to come and provide evidence, to come and provide further clarity for the decisions or actions you made whilst you were occupying the position, you got to be ready. That is the principle of accountability. Then we come to the principle of openness. This ties in the principle of transparency, which means that public sector or public officers must be transparent in decision making to enhance trust and prevent secrecy. So if it is a contract you are awarding, it should be open. Nothing should be shrouded in secrecy, because remember, it is not your money. It is the money of Ghana. It is not your country. The country belongs to everybody. That is a principle of openness. Then honesty. Tagged to or tied into the principle of integrity, it means to be truthful so that we can maintain public trust in everything that is done. And then the last one is leadership. Lead by example by differentiating or demonstrating adherence to these principles in all behaviors. So especially these key public officers, the Minister of Finance, Controller Accountant General, Auditor General, Chief Directors, and the various people, MCs, DCs, these people are in key leadership position. The president, members of parliament, these people must lead by example. Why? Because whatever they are doing sets the tone for how or what is acceptable or not acceptable. So if a key public officer misbehaves in public and justify that misbehavior in the name of politics, then that is not leading by example. It means that you are not somebody who is doing things the way it is supposed to be done. And these are the 7 Nolan principles that we discussed. But in addition to these 7 Nolan principles, there are what we call virtues that public sector administrators must possess in order to execute or do their job well. And this is coming from Alan Lawson and Michael Macaulay. So according to Alan Lawson and Michael Macaulay, there are some virtues in public administration that key public officers and public sector workers must have in order to be able to do their job very well. So the first principle is, or the first virtue is ethical awareness. This simply means the ability to recognize the moral dimensions of a situation before acting. In other words, any public officer that is seeking to make a statement or do something, they must make sure they understand the moral implication of their statement on sensitive topics, especially to maintain public trust. The second thing is personal resilience. This simply means the capacity to bounce back from adversity, pressure, criticism to continue functioning effectively. So as a public sector officer, you need to be resilient. Look at what the special prosecutor has been through over the last few months. People are saying, hey, special prosecutor, you're not doing anything. You're going to lose your job. We got to close the office, yada, yada, yada. But then all of those things, you must be able to bounce back. Allegedly, even the special prosecutor and some of his staff have experienced or suffered death threats. Okay. Personal resilience means you should be able to bounce back and continue to do your work irrespective of the insults, irrespective of the threats you are receiving. If you don't have the resilience, then maybe public sector work is not for you, because it is public sector. You are being paid using taxpayers' money. Not everybody is going to agree with what you are doing. So somebody is just sitting there with 2 megabytes of data, can write something that if you're not careful as a public officer, you look at it, you ask yourself, who the heck is this person? But hey, they are sharing their thoughts. Then fearlessness. It's important that public sector officers stand their grounds to make decisions that will really be in the interest of the public as a whole and not be scared of what is likely to happen because some few people do not understand. Fearlessness, and then the last one is political sensitivity. These are some of the virtues that public sector officers must have in order to carry out their work. This is defined by Alan Lawson and Michael Macaulay. Then we came to the other issues that we must understand when it comes to the language of accountability, and that is public sector financial statement. So one of the primary ways that public sector officers, institutions show their accountability is through the preparation of financial statement. And so this is in question 1 in public sector, and we are going to be required to prepare some financial statement. So we have the statement of financial performance showing the revenue and expenditure during the year so that we can get the net operating results. We have the statement of financial position showing the assets, liabilities, and the accumulated fund of the entity. We have the cash flow statement, which is going to show the actual cash inflows and the outflows and how they were spent during the year. Then we have the statement of changes in the net assets or accumulated fund. So this is going to be handling issues that we were handling in the private sector under statement of changes in equity. So we'll have accumulated fund here, revaluation reserves will be here. Any other reserves will also be available or will be in the statement of changes in the net asset. Then we have the statement of budget versus actual. This is the statement of budget performance. And this is crucial because you're going to need this under PFA, and you're also going to need it under evaluation of financial statement, because at the end of the period, we want to find out how reliable the government has been when it comes to implementation and effectiveness of its budget. And so we will compare the budget, normally revised budget, with the actual results. Then we'll get a variance, and based on that, we can make various decisions. And so we looked at the pro forma of the statement of budget performance, both in the PFA environment as well as in the evaluation of financial statement environment. And we're going to expand on this later on as we proceed in the discussion. Certainly the notes to the financial statement, very important there. But then these financial statements must be useful to the users of the financial statement. All right. And so we then came to what really makes the financial statement useful to the users. And this is where the qualitative characteristics comes to town. And, we talked about the fundamental qualitative characteristics: relevance, faithful representation, and then the enhancing qualitative characteristics. That is very important. Then we came to the accounting parts, the fundamental reporting issues. And so we looked at the accounting basis. Now, when it comes to the accounting basis, there are four we need to understand. So we have the cash basis of accounting. Under cash basis, revenue is recognized when the cash is received. Expenditure is recognized when the cash is paid. But in accrual basis, revenue and cash are recognized not when cash is received or paid, but when the transaction takes place. That is the accrual basis. In between these two, we have the modified cash basis. The modified cash basis is where the books are left open at least 3 months after the end of the year to capture transactions that are taking place prior to the year end, for which cash is received or paid after the end of the year. That is the modified accrual. That is the modified cash basis. Then we have the modified accrual basis. With a modified accrual basis, this is where revenue is being recognized on cash basis, but expenditures are recognized on accrual basis. And these are the things we must understand when it comes to the accounting basis. It's important we understand how you go through preparation of financial statements, how you go through recognition of various transaction items, and we discussed this in the class, solved a question on looking at the preparation of financial statements on accrual basis and how we change that into cash basis, and then some other questions in respect of how various items should be recognized or treated under the cash basis as well as the accrual basis, and then in the modified accrual basis. And so these are the basis of accounting that you must understand. It's important because this is question one. This is going to feed into question one, because the basis of accounting the entity in the question is using will determine the way we are going to be preparing the financial statement and treat especially the footnotes to the financial statement. And so the basis of accounting, very important there. Then we came to the methods for budgetary control, like the accounting techniques. These are the methodologies used in preparing financial statements. The accounting basis are the ways that we recognize revenue and expenditure. The accounting techniques are methodologies we apply in preparing the financial statement. So we have the vote accounting. This is where we are preparing financial reports based on the budgetary estimate approved by Parliament. So it can also be called appropriation accounting. Then commitment accounting. This is where we are preparing financial records based on contract that has been awarded or purchases invoice that has been sent out. And so if you remember, we emphasized that there is a question on this that you can look at, and the way the deal works is that the entity has its votes. Once it awards contract or sends out a purchase order, we are going to move the money from the vote and put that into the commitment account. When the invoice comes, then we take the money from the commitment into the expenditure account. But two things can happen. Either the invoice that comes is more than what we had put into the commitment fund and everything is okay. In that case, the excess amount must come from the vote into the expenditure account. Or the actual invoice that came will be, or that the actual invoice that we receive will be below the amount in the commitment account for that item, and everything is okay. In that case, the amount has to be removed and paid back into the vote. And so these are the things you must understand when we talk about vote accounting and commitment accounting. So in the session 2, these are the thematic issues that we looked at: the Nolan 7 Principles of Public Life, Lawson and Macaulay's Virtues for Public Administrators, looking at the concept of value for money, sharing our thoughts on the accounting basis and the accounting techniques. These are crucial because these will now set us up in session 3, where we look at revenue management and expenditure control, and most importantly, how various items will be treated in the financial statement under the various bases of accounting. So if you find this video valuable and you have learned something, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and follow our pages online everywhere. But most importantly, if you want to get access to our full courses to study directly under my mentorship for the examination, then you can head on to our website, NhyiraPremium.com, to enroll in our courses, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp or call 050-114-9296 so that you can complete your enrollment and start studying under my mentorship to join our community so I can hold your hand, provide you with the blueprint that you need so you can go to the exam hall, write the exam with confidence, and most importantly, pass the examination. Thank you, and you can check the page for more videos, and I'll catch you on the next one.